The morning sun painted the sky orange over New Terra Colony as 8-year-old Dae-ho Kim walked to school with his backpack bouncing on his shoulders. He rubbed his nose with the back of his hand. Something felt strange today. His throat tickled and his nose felt stuffy like when he caught a cold. Dae-ho lived in Section 7 of the colony with his parents. His father Hyun-soo worked as a scientist studying alien plants. His mother Yoon-ji fixed broken machines and built new things for the colony. They had moved here when Dae-ho was just 3 years old. He barely remembered Earth. The colony school sat in the middle of the settlement. It was a simple white building with large windows that looked out at the purple grass fields. Dae-ho liked school most days. Today felt different, though. His head felt heavy and his eyes watered. He walked into his classroom where 20 other kids sat at their desks. Ms. So-young Park stood at the front writing math problems on the board. She was young and kind. She always helped when students did not understand something. "Good morning, Dae-ho," she said with a smile. "Please take your seat. We are starting with numbers today." Dae-ho sat down at his desk in the third row. His best friend Junho sat next to him. Junho was 9 and knew everything about spaceships. He wanted to be a pilot when he grew up. "You look sick," Junho whispered. "Your face is red." Dae-ho touched his cheek. It did feel warm. "I think I caught something. My nose is all stuffy." Ms. Park started teaching about adding big numbers. Dae-ho tried to pay attention, but his nose kept getting worse. He sniffled quietly and wiped it with his sleeve. Other kids turned to look at him. The tickling in his nose grew stronger. It felt like something was moving inside his head. Dae-ho pressed his hand against his nose, but it did not help. The feeling spread down to his throat and chest. "Can anyone tell me what 700 plus 300 equals?" Ms. Park asked. Several hands went up. Dae-ho wanted to raise his hand too because he knew the answer was 1,000. But the strange feeling in his nose was getting too strong. He felt like he needed to sneeze really badly. He tried to hold it back. His eyes started watering more. His whole face felt hot now. The other kids were staring at him. Some of them giggled because his face was turning very red. Ms. Park noticed too. "Dae-ho, are you feeling all right? Do you need to visit the nurse?" Dae-ho opened his mouth to say yes, but the sneeze hit him like a wave. He could not stop it anymore. His whole body shook as the biggest sneeze of his life built up inside him. He tried to cover his mouth with his hands. Then, it happened. Instead of a normal sneeze, bright blue and white flame burst out of Dae-ho's mouth. The fire shot across the room like a rocket. It hit his wooden desk and turned it into ash in 1 second. The flame kept going and burned a black mark on the wall behind him. The whole classroom went silent. Everyone stared with their mouths open. Smoke rose from where Dae-ho's desk used to be. The smell of burned wood filled the air. A few pieces of ash floated down like snow. Dae-ho looked at his hands. They were not burned. He looked at where his desk was. Only a small pile of gray dust remained. He felt the strange tickling feeling go away from his nose. What just happened?" Ms. Park's voice shook. She backed away from the front of the room. Junho pointed at Dae-ho with wide eyes. You breathed fire, like a dragon." Some kids started crying. Others ran to the back of the classroom. A few brave ones stepped closer to look at the burned spot on the wall. Dae-ho stood up slowly. He did not understand what happened either. "I just sneezed," he said in a quiet voice. "I did not mean to burn anything." Ms. Park pressed a red button on the wall. This was the emergency alarm. Loud sounds started playing through the whole school. "Everyone stay calm," she said, but her voice was not calm at all. "We need to call your parents right away." Within minutes, people came running. The school principal, Mr. Dongwoo, arrived first. Then came Dr. Taemin Lee, the colony doctor. Finally, Dae-ho's parents rushed through the door. "Dae-ho!" His mother Yoon-ji ran to him and hugged him tight. "Are you hurt?" "What happened here?" His father Hyun-soo looked at the burned wall and the pile of ash. His face went pale. "This is not possible," he said. "Humans cannot breathe fire." Dr. Lee took out his medical scanner and pointed it at Dae-ho. The device made beeping sounds. His body temperature is normal now, the doctor said. But there are strange energy readings coming from his chest and throat. I just sneezed, Deho said again. He felt scared because everyone looked frightened. Did I do something bad? No, his mother said, holding him closer. You did not do anything wrong. We just need to understand what happened. More people gathered outside the classroom. Word was spreading through the colony fast. Some colonists peeked through the windows. Others whispered in the hallway. Colony Administrator Jinwoo Choi arrived with 2 security guards. He was a serious man who made important decisions for everyone. He looked at the damage and shook his head. We need to move the boy somewhere safe, he said to Daeho's parents. And we need to run tests. This has never happened before in any human colony. Dr. Lee nodded. I want to examine him in my medical center. We should also contact Earth immediately. They need to know about this. As they prepared to leave, Daeho looked back at his classroom. The other kids watched him go with fear and wonder in their eyes. He felt sad because he might have ruined everything for his friends, but deep inside something else was happening. The strange feeling was not completely gone. It moved through his body like warm water, and somewhere far away in space, ancient machines that had been sleeping for thousands of years began to wake up. They had detected something they thought was lost forever, and they were coming to find it. Far across the galaxy on the world called Paraxis, ancient stone towers reached up toward the stars. These towers had stood for 3,000 years. Inside them, old machines hummed quietly in the darkness. They had been waiting and listening for a very long time. Elder Dragon Kelthorn rested in the great chamber. His scales were deep gold and silver from his many years of life. He was older than the towers themselves. His eyes glowed like small suns as he watched the star maps floating in the air above him. Suddenly, every machine in the tower began to flash with bright lights. Alarm sounds filled the chamber. Kelthorn lifted his massive head. He had not heard these sounds for thousands of years. Impossible, he whispered in his deep voice that shook the stone walls. Young dragons came flying into the chamber. Zephyra, the swift, landed first. Her blue scales sparkled in the flashing lights. Behind her came Thalison the Bold with his red scales shining like fire. Elder Kelthorn, Zephyra said quickly. The ancient detectors are active. All of them at once. We checked the machines 3 times, Thalison added. They are working correctly. The signal is real. Kelthorn stood up on his 4 legs. He was bigger than the other dragons. His wings spread wide as he walked to the main detection screen. Numbers and symbols moved across it too fast for young dragons to read. But Kelthorn could read them. He had built these machines long ago with his own claws. Show me the location, he commanded. The screen changed to show a map of the galaxy. A bright red dot pulsed in one corner. It was very far away in what dragons called the empty sector. That is where the small creatures live, Zephyra said. The ones who call themselves humans. They have only been flying between stars for a few hundred years. Kelthorn's eyes grew brighter. The signal signature matches the flame breath of the ancients. Perfect match, no mistake. The younger dragons looked at each other with surprise. They had heard stories about the ancients but thought they were just old tales. Elder, Thalison said carefully. The ancients have been gone for 3,000 years. Everyone knows this. Their bodies are gone, Kelthorn replied, but their blood still flows, in us, and apparently in these humans too. He turned away from the screen and walked to an old stone box in the corner. Inside were crystal records that held the oldest memories of dragon history. Kelthorn had not touched them for centuries. Long ago, before we built these towers, before we learned to speak with other star travelers, our people were different. We were not alone. We shared the gift of fire with others who looked different but burned the same. The Parathi, Zephyra whispered. She had studied the old stories. Yes, the Parathi. One people who became many. Some grew large and strong like us. Others stayed small but clever. All carried the fire inside them. Until the great forgetting came, and the gift was lost. Kelthorn held up a crystal record. It glowed with soft light. Images appeared in the air showing creatures that looked almost like small dragons, but walked on two legs. They had no scales or wings, but fire danced around their hands and mouths. This signal means the gift has returned. Somewhere in human space, a child has awakened the old blood. The first time in 3,000 years. Thalison stepped forward. "What do we do, Elder?" "We go to them. Carefully. Humans are young and get scared easily, but we must find this awakened child before others do." "Others?" Zephyra asked. Calethorn's expression grew dark. "The same signal that reached us will reach our enemies too. The hegemony fears the old fire more than anything. They will want to destroy this child before the gift can spread." He walked to the great window that showed the stars. "Zephyra, you and Thalison will go first. Take the fastest ship. Find these humans and make contact. Be peaceful. Show them we are not enemies." "And if they attack us?" Thalison asked. He was young and ready to fight. "They will be afraid," Calethorn said. "Fear makes creatures do stupid things. But remember, if this child truly carries the ancient blood, then humans are our lost family. We do not hurt family." Meanwhile, on New Terra Colony, Dr. Taemin Lee looked at his test results for the 10th time. Nothing made sense. Daeho Kim sat on the medical bed while his parents waited nearby. "His body is completely normal," Dr. Lee told them. "No genetic changes, no signs of alien infection, no radiation, but his throat and chest show energy patterns I have never seen before." Hyun-Soo Kim rubbed his forehead. "This is impossible. Our family records go back 12 generations. No one ever breathed fire." "Maybe it is something in the colony air," Yoonji suggested. "Or the food we grow here." Dr. Lee shook his head. "I have tested everything. The other children show no changes, only Daeho." Daeho swung his legs from the medical bed. "Can I go back to school now? I feel fine." "Absolutely not," Colony Administrator Jinwoo said from the doorway. "This situation is too dangerous. What if it happens again?" "But I do not feel sick anymore," Daeho said. "The tickling in my nose is gone." Dr. Lee checked his scanner again. "The energy readings are still there, but they are calmer now. Like something sleeping inside him." Jinwoo paced back and forth. "I have sent emergency messages to Earth, but it will take months for help to arrive. We need answers now." Outside the medical center, other colonists gathered in small groups. Everyone was talking about what happened at the school. Some were scared, others were curious. A few thought it was just a trick or machine malfunction. But in his laboratory, scientist Hyun-Soo found something strange. When he tested the ash from Daeho's burned desk, it was not normal ash. It contained elements that did not exist on New Terra Colony, elements that came from somewhere else. As night fell over the colony, Daeho lay in his bed looking up at the stars through his window. The strange feeling in his body was still there, warm and quiet. He did not understand what was happening to him. High above in space, 2 dragon ships moved toward New Terra Colony. They traveled faster than human ships, but still needed time to cross the vast distance between worlds. And somewhere else in the galaxy, darker ships began to move too. The hegemony had also detected the ancient signal, but they were not coming to welcome a lost family member. They were coming to end a threat before it could grow. 3 days after Daeho's fire sneeze, the colony's warning alarms began to sound. 2 strange ships appeared in the sky above New Terra Colony. They were not human ships. They were long and silver like giant flying serpents. Colony Administrator Jinwoo rushed to the communications center. Captain Woo-Sung Park, head of colony security, stood beside him watching the ships on the main screen. "Are they attacking?" Jinwoo asked. "No, sir," Captain Park replied. "They are just waiting, about 5 kilometers above us." "Any communication attempts?" "Yes, sir. They sent a message in multiple languages. Very polite. They want to talk." Jinwoo felt surprised. Most alien visitors to human colonies were not polite. "What did they say exactly?" Captain Park read from his screen. Greetings to the human settlement. We come in peace, seeking the awakened child. We wish to speak with your leaders. We mean no harm. The awakened child, Jinwoo repeated. They know about Daeho. In the medical center, Dr. Taemin Lee was running more tests on Daeho when his scanner started beeping wildly. The energy readings from the boy's body were getting stronger. Something is happening, Dr. Lee told Daeho's parents. The energy patterns are responding to something outside. Daeho sat up on the medical bed. I feel it too, like something calling to me from up there. He pointed toward the ceiling. His mother, Yoonji, held his hand. What do you feel exactly? Warm, happy. Like when you see family after a long time, Daeho said. But I do not know why. An hour later, one of the alien ships landed in the colony's main square. It was beautiful and scary at the same time. The metal seemed to shift and move like liquid. Strange symbols glowed along its sides. A door opened in the ship. Two creatures came out that made everyone gasp. They were dragons. Real dragons like in old Earth stories. But these dragons were clearly intelligent. They wore simple harnesses, with communication devices attached. The first dragon had blue scales that sparkled in the sunlight. She was smaller and moved quickly. The second dragon had red scales and was larger with powerful muscles. I am Zephyra, the blue dragon said through her translator device. Her voice was clear and gentle. This is Thalison. We come from the Dragon Council of Paraxis. Jinwoo and Captain Park approached carefully with several other colonists behind them. Everyone was nervous but curious. I am Jinwoo, administrator of this colony, Jinwoo said. How do you know our language? We have studied human communications for many years, Zephyra replied. We know more about you than you know about us, but that will change today. You mentioned an awakened child, Captain Park said. What do you know about our situation? Thalison spoke for the first time. His voice was deeper than Zephyra's. 3 days ago, we detected an energy signature we have not sensed for 3,000 years. It came from this location, from a human child. How is that possible? Jinwoo asked. Because, Zephyra said with something like a smile, humans and dragons are family, very distant family, but family nonetheless. Before anyone could respond, Dr. Lee arrived with Daeho and his parents. When Daeho saw the dragons, his eyes went wide, but he did not seem afraid. You are the ones calling to me, he said in a small voice. Zephyra lowered her great head until she was at Daeho's eye level. Yes, little fire breather. We felt your awakening across the stars. Fire breather? Hyunsu asked. What does that mean? Thalison gestured with one claw toward his ship. May we share our history with you? It is a long story, but an important one. Inside the dragon ship, the colonists found themselves in a room filled with floating images and soft lights. It was more advanced than any human technology. Long ago, Zephyra began. There was a people called the Parathi. They were the first intelligent species in this part of the galaxy. The Parathi had a special gift. They could breathe elemental fire. The images around them showed creatures that looked like a mix between humans and dragons. They had human-like bodies but with scales and the ability to create fire. Over millions of years, the Parathi evolved into different forms. Thalison continued. Some became large and powerful like us. Others stayed small but developed greater intelligence and tool-making skills like humans. But the fire gift was lost, Zephyra said sadly. A great disaster called the Wandering Plague spread across the galaxy. It attacked the part of DNA that carried the fire gift. Most Parathi died. Those who survived could no longer breathe fire. Yoonji looked at her son. Are you saying Daeho has this ancient DNA? Not has, Thalison corrected. Has awakened. The DNA was always there in some humans and dragons. Sleeping. Waiting. Dr. Lee pulled out his scanner. May I scan you both? To compare with Daeho's readings? Both dragons agreed. The scanner showed similar energy patterns to Daeho, but much stronger and more controlled. This is incredible, Dr. Lee said. The genetic markers are definitely related. A young woman named Heywan Nam stepped forward. She was the colony's language specialist. If this is true, it changes everything we know about human evolution. It changes more than that, Zephyra said with worry in her voice. The same signal that brought us here will bring others. Not all of them will be as friendly as we are. Others? Jinwoo asked. The Hegemony Alliance, Thalison explained. They are made up of species that fear the old fire gift. Their ancestors were driven away by the Pirathi long ago. They will see your awakened child as a threat. A threat? Hyunsu stood up angrily. He is just 8 years old. To them, he represents the return of their ancient enemy, Zephyra said. They will try to destroy him before the gift spreads to other humans. Daeho had been listening quietly. Now he spoke up. Can you teach me to control it? The fire inside me? Zephyra and Thalison looked at each other. Dragons could communicate without words sometimes. Yes, Zephyra finally said. But it will be dangerous, and it will change your life forever. It already changed, Daeho said simply. I burned my desk at school. Despite the serious situation, several people smiled at this. There is something else, Thalison added. If Daeho truly awakened on his own without any help, he may be the key to awakening others. Both human and dragon children could develop this gift again. Jinwoo felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. How long do we have before these hegemony forces arrive? Weeks at most, Zephyra replied. Maybe less. Then, we better start preparing, Captain Park said grimly. But first they had a lot to learn about their new dragon allies and the ancient power sleeping inside a small human boy. Word about Daeho and the dragons spread quickly across human space. Dr. Yuna Seo, a genetic scientist from Earth, arrived on the next transport ship. She brought advanced equipment and many questions. This is the discovery of the century, Dr. Seo told the assembled colonists and dragons. We need to document everything. She worked with Zephyra and a dragon scholar named Seraphina, who had come with additional ships from Paraxis. Together they studied DNA samples and ancient dragon records. Look at this, Dr. Seo said, pointing to her computer screen. Human chromosome 7 contains dormant genetic sequences that match dragon DNA perfectly. It has been there all along. Seraphina nodded her wise old head. The Pirathi blood runs true, even after 3,000 years. But not everyone was excited about the discovery. Reports came in from other human colonies about strange incidents. A girl on Kepler colony breathed ice instead of fire. A boy on New Mars colony created lightning with his hands. It is spreading, Zephyra confirmed. Daeho's awakening triggered something in the ancient DNA. Other children are awakening too. Some human governments became worried. Admiral Chen from Earth Defense sent urgent messages to New Terra Colony, demanding that Daeho be brought to Earth for study. Absolutely not, Yoonji said firmly when Jinwoo told her about the messages. My son is not a laboratory experiment. Meanwhile, Daeho began training with a dragon master named Pyrian who had arrived with the latest ships. Pyrian was ancient even by dragon standards. His scales were white with age, but his fire burned hotter than any young dragon. Fire is not about anger, Master Pyrian taught Daeho in the colony's training area. Fire is about purpose. Show me your purpose. Daeho stood in the middle of the practice ring. He closed his eyes and thought about protecting his friends and family. The warm feeling in his chest grew stronger. Now release it slowly, Master Pyrian instructed. Like breathing out on a cold day. Daeho opened his mouth and let out a gentle stream of blue flame. It was controlled and beautiful instead of wild and scary. Better, Master Pyrian said. Now try the 7 forms. The 7 forms were ancient techniques that dragons had used for thousands of years. Daeho learned how to make his fire hot or cool, narrow or wide, long or short. It was harder than learning math, but more fun. His parents watched from the side of the training area. Other colonists came to watch too. Some were amazed. Others looked worried. Is it safe? Asked Mrs. Minna, who taught at the school. Safer than leaving him untrained, Master Pyrion replied. Untrained fire gifts can be very dangerous. While Daeho trained, Captain Wusung Park worked with Thalison to improve colony defenses. The dragons shared some of their technology, but not too much. We must be careful, Thalison explained. Too much advancement too quickly can be dangerous for young species, but if this hegemony attacks us, we need every advantage, Captain Park argued. Thalison showed him holographic displays of hegemony ships. They were dark and angular with powerful weapons. Numbers will be their advantage. We must rely on strategy and the element of surprise. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, Supreme Commander Vextar of the Hegemony Alliance studied his own reports. His species, the Korthani, were made of living silicon instead of carbon like humans and dragons. They looked like walking crystals with sharp edges. The ancient fire has returned, Vextar told his war council. Our ancestors' greatest fear has become real. Just one human child, said Sub-Commander Nixera. Surely we are overreacting. Vextar's crystal body flashed with angry red light. One child today, 100 tomorrow, 1,000 next year. The Pirathi nearly destroyed our people once. We will not allow them to return. But these are humans, Nixera pointed out, not the ancient Pirathi. The blood is the same. The fire is the same. They must be eliminated before the gift spreads further. Vextar ordered 200 warships to head toward human space. It was the largest hegemony fleet ever assembled. Back on New Terra Colony, the dragons detected the approaching fleet with their long-range sensors. How many ships? Jinwu asked when Zephyra brought the news. 200. Maybe more. They will arrive in 10 days. The colonists felt fear but also determination. Engineer Mi Young-jung began working with dragon technicians to strengthen the colony's shields. Dr. Lee set up emergency medical stations. Captain Park organized the small militia and civilian volunteers. We have 12 dragons and about 50 humans who know how to fight, Captain Park told Jinwu. Against 200 enemy ships. Bad odds, Jinwu agreed. But we are not giving up. Daeho continued his training with increased urgency. Master Pyrion taught him advanced techniques, usually reserved for adult dragons. You learn quickly for one so young, Master Pyrion observed. Perhaps because you awakened naturally instead of being taught from birth. Will I be strong enough to help fight? Daeho asked. Master Pyrion was quiet for a moment. Strength is not always about power. Sometimes it is about inspiration. Your awakening has already changed the galaxy. That evening, Daeho sat with his parents and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, enemy ships were coming to hurt his home and family. Are you scared? His mother asked. A little, Daeho admitted. But Master Pyrion says fear can make fire stronger if you use it right. His father hugged him. You should not have to worry about fighting at your age. But this is my fault, Daeho said quietly. If I had not sneezed fire, none of this would be happening. No, Zephyra said, landing nearby. Dragons could move very quietly when they wanted to. This was always going to happen. You just chose when. And choosing the time of battle is better than having it chosen for you. Dr. Seo approached with exciting news. I have been analyzing the DNA patterns from all the reported awakenings. There is a pattern. Children who awaken tend to have parents from different Earth regions. Mixed genetic heritage seems to trigger the dormant Pirathi genes. What, Kir, does that mean? Yunji asked. It means the gift was preserved across many human populations, scattered and hidden but never truly lost. Daeho's awakening is just the beginning. As if to prove her point, Captain Park's communication device buzzed with new reports. 3 more children had awakened fire gifts on different colonies. The phenomenon was accelerating. The hegemony will panic when they learn how fast this is spreading, Thalison warned. Let them panic, Master Pyrion said with a gleam in his ancient eyes. Fear makes enemies make mistakes. The next morning brought more dragon ships from Paraxis. Elder Kelthorn himself arrived with warriors and scholars. His presence made even the other dragons stand straighter with respect. So this is the first awakened human. Calethorn said, looking down at Deho with glowing golden eyes. Yes, Elder, Deho said, trying not to be scared of the massive dragon. Show me your fire, young one. Deho took a deep breath and created a perfect stream of controlled blue flame. It was the best he had ever done. Calethorn nodded approvingly. The blood runs strong in this one. He will do. Do what? Deho asked. Change everything, Calethorn replied mysteriously. With the Elder Dragon's arrival came new hope, but also greater responsibility. The final confrontation with the hegemony was approaching fast. The hegemony fleet arrived like a dark cloud blotting out the stars. 200 warships took positions around New Terra Colony. Their black hulls bristled with weapons that could turn the entire planet to dust. Supreme Commander Vextar's crystal face appeared on every screen in the colony. His voice was sharp and cold like breaking glass. Humans of New Terra Colony, you harbor a creature that threatens galactic peace. Surrender the fire-breathing child and all dragon allies. You have 1 hour to comply. Jinwoo stood in the command center surrounded by his people and dragon allies. Open a channel, he told Captain Park. Commander Vextar, Jinwoo said calmly. The child you speak of is an 8-year-old boy who sneezed. He is not a threat to anyone. The ancient fire has returned, Vextar replied. Our histories tell of the destruction the Parathi brought to the galaxy. We will not allow it to spread. Elder Calethorn stepped forward. His massive form filled the screen. Your histories lie, Korthani. The Parathi brought civilization and knowledge. Your people attacked them out of jealousy and fear. Vextar's crystal body flashed with anger. Dragon lies. We know what your kind are capable of. Then you should remember that we are capable of defending ourselves, Calethorn said with quiet menace. The transmission ended. Around the colony, families rushed to underground shelters. Captain Park's militia took defensive positions. The dragons spread out across the settlement, ready to fight. Deho stood with his parents in the command bunker. He wanted to help, but everyone told him to stay safe. I should be out there, he said, watching the preparations on the monitors. You are too young, his mother said firmly. But it is because of me they are here. Master Pyrion overheard. Young fire breather, sometimes the greatest battle is knowing when not to fight. The first attack came at sunset. Hegemony fighters screamed down from orbit, firing energy weapons at the colony's shields. The barriers held but barely. Thalison and 6 other dragons took to the air to meet them. Their natural fire breath was more powerful than any human weapon. They destroyed 5 enemy fighters in the first pass, but more kept coming. On the ground, hegemony soldiers teleported into the colony using advanced technology. They were tall crystal beings who moved with deadly precision. Captain Park's militia fought bravely but were quickly overwhelmed. Shields at 60%, Engineer Mi Young reported from her station. Dragon forces are outnumbered 20-1, Captain Park added grimly. Jin Woo made a difficult decision. Begin evacuating civilians to the deeper shelters. Zephyra burst into the command bunker, her blue scales scorched from battle. They are pushing toward the main settlement. We cannot hold them much longer. Through the bunker's reinforced windows, they could see hegemony troops advancing through the streets. Their crystal weapons cut through buildings like they were made of paper. We have to surrender, Dr. Lee said quietly. Too many people will die. No, Deho said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at the small boy. I will not let them hurt my family and friends because of me. Before anyone could stop him, Deho ran toward the bunker exit. His parents chased after him, but he was faster. Deho, stop, Yunji called. But he was already outside, running through the chaos toward the main battle. Master Pyrion saw him and swooped down. Young one, this is not your fight yet, the ancient dragon said. Yes, it is, Deho replied with determination in his young voice. They came here for me. They should meet me. Elder Calethorn landed nearby, breathing fire at approaching hegemony soldiers. The boy is right. Perhaps it is time. Time for what? Master Pyrion asked. To show them what they truly fear. In the command bunker, Dr. Seo was monitoring energy readings when her instruments went wild. Something is happening, The energy signatures are spiking everywhere. On her screen, they could see Deho standing in the middle of the main square. Hegemony soldiers surrounded him, their weapons pointed at the small figure. Supreme Commander, Vextar himself had teleported down to witness the capture. "So small," he said in his crystal voice. "This child carries the doom of my people?" "I do not want to hurt anyone," Deho said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I just want to go home and play with my friends." "The ancient fire recognizes no innocence," Vexitar replied. "You must be destroyed." Deho felt the warm feeling in his chest growing stronger than it ever had before, but this time it was not just his own fire. He could feel the fire of every dragon fighting around the colony. He could feel the awakening fire in human children on distant worlds. "You are wrong," Deho said, and his voice carried further than it should have. "Fire is not about destroying. Fire is about protecting what you love." He opened his mouth and released everything he had been holding back. The fire that came out was not just blue and white. It was every color of the rainbow, and some colors that had no names. It rose into the sky like a tower reaching for the stars. The heat was so intense that hegemony weapons melted. But it did not hurt any of the colonists or dragons. The flame could be seen from orbit. Every ship in the hegemony fleet detected the energy surge. Some of the crystal soldiers dropped their weapons and stared in amazement. Even Supreme Commander Vextar took a step backward. "Impossible," he whispered. "No Parathi ever controlled fire like this." Elder Kael'thorn landed beside Deho, his own fire joining the boys. "Because he is not just Parathi, he is human too. And humans do not give up when protecting their families." One by one, every dragon in the colony added their fire to Deho's. The column of flame grew brighter and higher. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. In the command bunker, Engineer Mi Young was frantically working her communication equipment. "I am broadcasting this across the entire galaxy. Every species will see what is happening here." The image of a small human boy creating fire that reached the stars spread to thousands of worlds. On planets where humans lived, children began awakening their own gifts faster than ever before. But the most important audience was right there on New Terra Colony. The hegemony soldiers had stopped fighting. Some were fleeing, others just stood and watched in wonder. "Commander," Subcommander Nixara said to Vextar, "perhaps we should reconsider. This is not the destructive force our histories described." Vextar looked at the small boy who was breathing fire like a legend come to life. His crystal face reflected the beautiful flames. "Retreat," he ordered finally. "All forces retreat." "Sir?" Nixara questioned. "I said retreat. This is not a battle we can win." As the hegemony forces withdrew, Deho finally closed his mouth. The great column of fire faded away. He swayed on his feet, exhausted from the effort. Master Pyrian caught him before he could fall. "Well done, young fire breather. Very well done indeed." But the battle was only the beginning. Word was spreading across the galaxy that the ancient fire had returned, and this time it was not coming back alone. 3 months after the Battle of New Terra, the galaxy was a very different place. The broadcast of Deho's incredible fire display had reached every corner of known space. Everywhere it was seen, something amazing happened. On the human colony of New Beijing, 12 children awakened fire gifts in a single day. On the mining world of Titan 7, workers discovered they could breathe ice that was harder than steel. On agricultural planets, some humans found they could make plants grow faster with their touch. But it was not just humans. Young dragons across Paraxis began showing powers their elders had never seen. Some could breathe healing light instead of fire. Others could speak directly into minds across vast distances. Dr. Yuna Seo worked around the clock documenting all the changes. Her research station on New Terra had become the busiest scientific facility in human space. "The genetic cascade is accelerating," she told the assembled leaders. "We are seeing new awakenings every day, and the gifts are becoming more diverse." Elder Kael'thorn nodded his great head. The Parathi were never just about fire. They had many gifts. It seems the ancient blood remembers more than we thought. Dae-ho, now 9 years old, had become something no one expected. He was not a weapon or a symbol of power. He was a teacher. In Braum, the new academy that had been built on New Terra, Dae-ho worked with both human children and young dragons. His first student was a girl named Bora from the Kepler colony, who could breathe ice. His second was a young dragon named Ember, who had trouble controlling her flames. Remember, Dae-ho told them in his patient voice, the gift comes from inside, but it grows when you care about others. Bora created a small ice sculpture of a flower. Ember breathed gentle fire that made it glow like crystal. Both children smiled with pride. Very good, said Master Pyrian, who helped run the academy. You both learned to work together instead of competing. This cooperation was spreading beyond just the gifted children. Human and dragon engineers worked together to create new technologies. Human doctors and dragon healers shared knowledge to help both species. Human artists and dragon crafters made beautiful things that neither could create alone. The biggest change came from an unexpected source. Sub-Commander Nixara of the Hegemony had requested a meeting with the colony leaders. She arrived with a small diplomatic ship and only 2 guards. Her crystal body was smaller than Supreme Commander Vextar's, with smoother edges that caught the light prettily. I come with an offer from a growing number of Hegemony worlds, she told Jinwoo and Elder Kael'thorne. Many of our people want peace. And what about Supreme Commander Vextar? Kael'thorne asked. He has been removed from command. The Hegemony Council decided that his hatred of the ancient gifts was too dangerous. I have been chosen as the new leader. Jinwoo leaned forward. What kind of offer? Alliance, trade, cultural exchange. Many things your 2 species have that we need, and perhaps some things we can offer in return. It turned out that the Korthani had technologies that could help with healing and construction. In exchange, they wanted to learn about the fire gifts and how they could be used for creation instead of destruction. Your child showed us something. We had forgotten, Nixara said, looking at Dae-ho, who sat quietly in the corner. Power does not have to mean violence. The negotiations took weeks, but eventually, the Parathi Alliance was formed. It included human colonies, dragon worlds, and even some hegemony planets that wanted to join the new cooperation. Dae-ho's parents watched all these changes with amazement. Their son had gone from a normal schoolboy to the catalyst for galactic peace in less than a year. Are you happy with how things turned out? His mother Yoonji asked him one evening as they watched the sunset. Mostly, Dae-ho replied. But I still miss just being a regular kid sometimes. You can still be a kid, his father Hyun-soo said. You just happen to be a kid who can breathe fire and accidentally started a galactic alliance. Dae-ho laughed. When you say it like that, it sounds funny. More dragon ships arrived each week, bringing scholars and teachers to the academy. Human ships brought families who wanted their children to learn alongside dragons. Even some Korthani observers came to study the cooperation between species. Dr. Lee had expanded his medical research to include all 3 species. He discovered that the awakening gifts often came with improved health and longer lifespans. The ancient Parathi DNA does not just give special abilities, he explained. It makes the entire body stronger and more resistant to disease. This news spread quickly and caused another wave of excitement across human space. Parents who had been worried about their children's new gifts began to see them as blessings instead of problems. Engineer Mi Young-jung led joint construction projects that combined human engineering, dragon crafting, and Korthani crystal technology. The new buildings they created were stronger and more beautiful than anything any single species had made before. Captain Woo-sung Park found his militia had evolved into something more like an exploration and rescue service. With dragons able to fly long distances and humans good at problem solving, they helped colonies across multiple star systems. On the first anniversary of Dae-ho's fire sneeze, the Academy held a special celebration. Children from dozens of worlds came to demonstrate their gifts. There were fire breathers and ice makers, plant growers and metal shapers, mind speakers and light weavers. Elder Kael'thorne gave a speech to the assembled crowd. 1 year ago, a small boy sneezed and changed the galaxy. Today we see the future he made possible. A future where different does not mean enemy, where gifts are shared instead of hoarded, where children lead the way to understanding. Daeho stepped forward to address the crowd. He was still small for his age, but his voice carried clearly to everyone present. I used to think my fire sneeze was an accident, he said. But Master Pyrian taught me that there are no accidents, only things we do not understand yet. Maybe I was supposed to sneeze fire that day. Maybe it was time for all of us to remember that we are stronger together than apart. He took a deep breath and created a gentle flame that danced in his hands. This fire is not mine alone. It belongs to everyone who chooses to protect instead of destroy. Everyone who chooses to build instead of tear down. Everyone who chooses to welcome friends instead of make enemies. The flame grew brighter as other children added their own gifts to it, ice and lightning, light and shadow, all dancing together in perfect harmony. In the audience, parents from 3 different species watched their children work together with tears in their eyes. Scientists documented new discoveries. Engineers planned new projects. Diplomats negotiated new trade agreements. And in his quiet way, Daeho Kim had done exactly what he set out to do after that first fire sneeze. He had found a way to go back to being just a kid who played with his friends. The only difference was that now his friends included dragons and crystal beings from across the galaxy. And when they played together, sometimes they accidentally made beautiful things that changed the universe. But that was okay. Accidents, as Master Pyrian would say, were just another word for possibilities no one had imagined yet. The young fire breather smiled and went back to his lessons, ready for whatever tomorrow might bring.